Nothing pains someone like me more than to see a Gordon build done totally wrong. And it happens almost every single build I see. If you've been following the channel, you know that I've been working on Delta Force kits, particularly those around Mogadishu, for quite a while. And this entire month is dedicated to that. That's right, October this year is Delta month. I have tons of videos coming out, which is why we're starting with a heavy hitter, and that's everything that people who build these Black Hawk Down loadouts get totally messed up. Now, before I go on my multi-minute rant, just hear me out. This is not a personal attack on anyone. Coming up with a period accurate kit is neither cheap nor non-labor intensive. It's very challenging to do. This video is just meant to point out some of the common tropes that I see so you guys can avoid them. As promised, let's start with the biggest one, your Gordy builds. Gary Gordon was one of the Delta Force members who lost his life during the Battle of Mogadishu. He earned the Medal of Honor from it by inserting with Randy Sugar to guard Super 6-4 and rescue the pilots and any other surviving members of the crash. We know, thanks to them, that Mike Durant made it out alive. And every single person just screws up his build. With that being said, there's not a lot of evidence of his actual build. In fact, the rifle was never recovered. And some of the only photos we have are obscured by other people or whatever. But there's a lot of notes that we can take from other Delta Force member setups to determine what he has. And the first thing that most people screw up on is using a Colt 727 base, rather than building it on a Colt 723. Everybody looks at the movie to be the most accurate reference, when in fact, the Colt 727 wasn't used by Delta Force members at all. That wasn't really in their arsenal for this operation. SEALs and other guys, sure, but definitely not the Delta guys. So you're gonna wanna go for a 723 build, which is a little bit different in that the upper receiver is an A1 style, particularly a C7. Or you could go for the A1 style if you're going for an earlier variant. Regardless, stop using the 727s. But the next sin that I see also comes on that carry handle, and that is an arms mount. The classic arms mount was in fact seen used by Delta Force members prior to this operation. In fact, here's a picture of it being used, but every single member of C Squadron does not have one of these during the Battle of Mogadishu. Instead, they have the MGW mounts. These Weaver rails are able to use the Aimpoint 3000s, the 2000s, the 5000s, all of that no problem. But too many people use the arms one because that's what the movie uses. Which brings me to my next point, and that's putting your flashlight on the barrel. Once again, not a single Delta Force member did that, but in the movie, of course, they had to make it look cool and attach it to the barrel, and this is a theme that did come afterwards, but during the Battle of Mogadishu, that wasn't seen whatsoever. More likely than not, he had his mounted underneath his rifle on his handguard, as this example shows here. And of course, the last major sin for the Gordon builds is not using an OpSync suppressor. 99% of people get this right because that was the suppressor that Delta used for years and years, and it's iconic, so at least you're doing that properly. As well as the paint jobs, keep those up too. But stop screwing it up otherwise. And that gets me to the other rifle blunders. Too many people, especially airsofters out there, either use Colt XM177 bases or Colt 653 bases. The 723 builds are very particular and need to be done justice, of course. You need an M16 A2 lower with a C7 or standard A1 upper, but with the rounded forward assist, not the A1 teardrop. The pencil barrel or the government barrel, the M4 barrel, is totally okay too, depends on the variant you want to go for, but still 653s are the A1 version of that, and the XM177s are even worse, especially with the moderators. The next sin everyone makes is exactly like the Gordon builds, and that's attaching the flashlight to the barrel. Please stop doing that. Attach it to the handguard. Be a man, go drill some holes, bolt it on, and actually be correct. And for the love of God, stop using arms mounts too, and comp M2s. If you want to do a movie build, fine. But if you're actually looking to be historically correct, please find an aim point, save up for it. They can be worth their while. Once again, you're gonna need a 3000 or a 5000. Next comes on the back of the gun. In fact, it's the stock pad or the recoil pad. The John Mason ones were seen occasionally, and the old shotgun style ones that have the bright orange and white in them, they're super, super cool. But too many people are slapping on other kinds when in fact not many others were seen. Those two that I mentioned were the most common. But okay, enough with the gun blunders, let's talk about other parts, the gear. If you're still rocking a modern ProTech black helmet and calling it a good enough substitute, you're doing it wrong. There are so many differences between the ones used in the 80s, the ones produced in the 90s, and the modern ones. And There's a whole video I have dedicated to that, but I'll run you through the quick and dirty. The 80s style ones have a square-ish cutout, which is still semi-rounded with donut hole rivets. The chin straps use a D-ring connection point with a square buckle underneath. The white foam has yellow on the inner part of it and is not one of the modern Oregon Aero, although that is a fine substitute for a lot of people. And please stop running so many stickers on it. Oftentimes they were taken right off because no one wants a bright white obnoxious thing on their black sleek helmet. The other thing I see mounted on too many people's helmets are generic goggles. Sometimes it's as egregious as Desert Locusts, or sometimes it's vintage Oakleys, which I do see occasionally a vintage Oakley in a reference photo or two, the full goggle style. But more often than not, you're going to be looking at the SWDGs, the standard Sandwind dust goggles, or you want the Bali X500s. These can either be the standard style or the one with the white rim on the inside. But again, so many people screw that up. Stop settling for Farb goggles. These things are literally like 20, 25 bucks. And the armor, don't get me started on it. If you're buying a Shekin Gears product, the one that has the bright white threading, it's fine, but please cover that up. Use a black Sharpie and go over every single thread. Yeah, this is gonna make me sound like a thread counter, but really, the bright white stands out and kills a loadout. If you can get more of that black or grayish look, it's gonna be way more period looking. Truth be told, the white is naturally correct in that the black thread was so cheaply dyed it faded over time. So if you look at actual reference photos, you're not seeing bright white modern nylon threading poking out in all the pictures. You're seeing black and maybe grayed if you're really close or lucky. And the other thing is attaching your chest rig to the clips on the front of the TG Faust vest. If you actually look at the reference photos, there's not a single guy doing that in Mogadishu. Those clips can be used for panels or other sorts of general accessories, but never was it used to attach the AWS strike rig. So no matter what you might hear from your favorite influencers, it's just not factually correct. There is a picture of a guy who's got buckles on his, but again, no evidence of it actually being worn that way. The last part about the load-bearing equipment is not as egregious because there is some evidence, but I think it's done too commonly, and that's wearing an LBV or standard Alice suspenders with the Alice belt and the magazine pouches hanging all over the place. I did produce a belt video recently, so please go check that out, but it's not at all really common to see the standard Alice webbing and all of that being used. Again, a couple of photos here and there, but if everybody's doing it, it kind of looks cheap. And that gets me to the last couple bits. Number one, the uniforms and accessories. There's a very particular way that you have to raid mod a uniform. And some people just leave it barren. They don't even take the time to do that correct mod. And truthfully, there are a couple pictures of guys that don't have it done, but almost everybody in Delta did. And moving our way down, the knee pads people choose. We're gonna talk about the specifics of the knee pad styles that you can use, but all too often, they're using modern black tactical knee pads. You're gonna want bike ones or Alta ones, and again, in the next video, we're gonna get to those details. And of course, the boots. The Desert Combat Boot followed straight from the Jungle Boot, and so many of the design notes are the same, including the soles. The Panama style soles are exactly what you want, whether it's in that dark chocolate chip brown or this lighter one like this. But everybody just picks the first modern pair they see at the surplus store or find on Facebook Marketplace. Look for the Panama soles. Nobody's gonna be looking at the bottom of your boot during kit pictures or whatnot, but people will be taking a look at the bottom of your boot when you're doing kit pictures. It's just a simple detail. I've never paid more than $40 for a pair of these boots, and if you're spending any more on that on a Farb one, you're doing it wrong. Which brings me to the final part, and this is probably the most nitpicky, and that's the electronics. It's too common to see a Baofeng and their whip antenna sticking out of a strike vest. Or they're running modern push-to-talk with the 2 silver screws on either side. And even more egregious is using crazy headsets. Delta was known to use a variety of custom modified headsets, like Setcom 5 and Davies headsets, but too many people buy ones that are close enoughs. Just check what you're doing on that. And of course, we'll get to that detail in the upcoming video. And if you've lasted this long, obviously you care about all of this stuff. Which brings me to a couple points. Number one, next week's video, you guys get the inside scoop on this, is going to be all Delta kit from Mogadishu. Every single detail with a surprise at the end, going through all the things that I found and discovered, shared with you, actual items in hand, which I'm super stoked for. And of course, if you want to support the channel anymore, we have a Patreon and a YouTube memberships program started. Huge thank you to all the guys who are currently on it right now. You guys are allowing this channel to continue producing content like this as we move forward. Thank you all so much. So with that being said, I know I harped on you, and if you took this as a personal attack, none of it really was. I just care about the historical accuracy of things, and I hope you do too. This is the Gear Locker. Get ready for Delta Month. We'll see you guys in the next one. Oh yeah, and if I'm missing anything in this video, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure there's details that I'm not even catching.